It's blanked out. It did that last time.
What do you mean? It's not blanked out. Facebook sharing screen.
Hold on, I'm on my phone. Angelia, if you're on, just pop on here so I can see if I can add you. Now I'm on my phone. What is that? What did you just do? Hi, everyone. This is like the 15th time. Hi, Jessica. Oh my God. How are you recovering? Oh my God.
Well, let me go because you're live. I said bye. So whatever, you do it then.
All right.
Don't let me do anything.
What'd you try and do?
I was trying to basically link it because you don't realize that you're on Google.
Yeah.
So you're on Chrome. Chrome has to do something that accesses.
Oh, well, you're laying in bed watching comedy right now.
I said, why did you start another live when I had it?
Hold on, let me see if she... I wonder if I hold it down. Oh my gosh! Where's Angelia? I figured it out, everyone. Oh my God. Okay.
So
everyone,
just end this.
No. Angelia, I figured it out. Okay, here we go.
No, you have to wait till she types. She has to type something.
Okay. Oh my Lord. I just sang for the 18,000th time again. I'm so sorry. Facebook has updated their, oh my God. Do you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, holy crap. Hi, Tiffany. Does everybody see her? Oh my gosh, I'm sweating. They updated their stupid, and now there's a big light behind my head. They updated their stupid app, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just clicked on him yesterday, and it was 2 seconds, and now it's what, 8:30 almost?
And you
said
that yesterday too. You were like, "Oh, it's gonna mess up whenever I try to do it."
On the desktop.
Of course.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. You have to hold on it on the desktop.
You have to enable it.
Ridiculous. Okay, well, trial and error. It's the first one. Which totally stinks because there's only 6 people on here now. But oh well. Hopefully people hop on. For everyone that's hopping on, this is the very first, obviously, because we're strong segment, and I really just wanted to kind of have people come on here. Hopefully over time we'll be way more streamlined, but I wanted people to hop on here and be able to tell their stories. So Angelia was the first sacrificial volunteer.
Sorry,
And,
I'm trying to go upstairs. The dogs are going crazy.
No, you're fine. You do whatever you need to do. And
Okay, Google.
for people that are nervous about this, it's very informal. Obviously, it's a little unorganized right now, but we're not going to be stressed about it. Really, we just want to share stories, and Angelia is brave enough to come on and share her stories. So I'm going to let her, kind of just roll with it, and I'll, you guys feel free to ask her questions. And I'll kind of like watch the comments and see if, anyone's talking to you directly so that you don't get, hey Dan, hey Ann, so you don't get tripped up on what you're trying to say. And, I'll interject when I feel I need to, but, so just tell everyone about yourself if I can get myself in a good spot, and, kind of where your BWS, journey started, I guess.
All right. It really didn't start until Lana was about 2 months old. We didn't know. There were signs and symptoms, but like people didn't really know about it. So they didn't know that those things added up to a syndrome.
Right.
So my pregnancy was, I guess, what they call a typical BWS pregnancy. You get like, it's high risk, and I had preeclampsia. I'm reading off of a sheet because I am nervous.
No problem. Here, look at my sweatpants. Oh, you can't see them actually. They're there, I swear. I was sweating. I'm like, Mike, I'm sweating.
So I had water retention and I'm a diabetic on top of it. So that's one reason why some of the symptoms weren't alarming in the beginning, because they're
Right.
also symptoms for someone who's diabetic and goes through a pregnancy. So I had water retention. Her size, she was born 6 weeks early and was 9 pounds, 12 ounces.
Oh my gosh.
So that was, on top of that, I had extra amniotic fluid and I was retaining water myself.
Right.
I had preeclampsia. It was just a rough pregnancy. I had to go in for non-stress tests like every week, and it's a half an hour away from my house, so it was a lot.
Man.
So I stayed overnight on a Friday because I was having some complications, and then they told me that I would have to go, my care would be switched to a local, well, not local to me, but a children's hospital in Dartmouth.
Okay.
So, hold on.
That's okay. Take your time.
So I went
Someone
there.
said same. Don't feel alone.
So I went there the next Monday. So I went home for the weekend and went there Monday, and they ended up taking her because my blood pressure was so high. They couldn't get it to come down. Let's see. So it was an emergency C-section. It was a classical C-section, which because of her size they had to do because they didn't think that I would heal well after. She was born 6 weeks early. She was jaundiced. She had small left colon syndrome with this thing that I cannot pronounce, but it's pretty much green vomiting, presence of bile. And she wasn't making any stools, so that led to them doing some x-rays and stuff. And they found the small left colon syndrome. She had trouble breathing. She had hypoglycemia, which is the low sugar. She was having trouble eating. She had a heart murmur. Her birth weight was alarming, but like I said, because of the diabetes, they didn't really say much. She spent a week at the children's hospital in the NICU.
Oh.
And I have other kids on top of this, so it was just really hard.
Yeah.
So after a week there, with really no answers, I just thought, premature birth, she needed a little extra help. They transferred us to a different hospital, and they actually have a mother's unit, which was really nice. I got to stay with her rather than going out of the hospital and sleeping and then coming back. So that was really nice. We got to work on her like nursing and trying to eat and all that stuff. But still no talk of the BWS, nothing. I was in the dark about it. So we stayed there for 2.5 weeks before we got to go home. And then we got home. Hold on. I hit a button, right? While we were there, we noticed that, huh?
I said, oh, there's a lot of people on here. Hi, everyone.
While we were at CMC, which is the second hospital that we stayed at, we did find that she had a tongue and lip tie. So they said that that was probably why she was struggling. That, and she was really sleepy, lethargic. So they said that they couldn't do anything about it. So I had to wait till I got discharged, and they referred me to a dentist that could reverse it. So we got that reversed, and then the things that started to come together was, so she did the tongue and lip tie and we got it reversed. I still had no idea. In June, I saw that there was a bump over her right eyebrow, and it was just like a little bump, and I Googled the symptoms and I thought it was a dermoid cyst because I was like, oh yeah, that's it. So it was like 2 weeks later and it had grown, like it was starting to grow down into like her eye.
Oh,
It was,
wow.
yeah, it was growing really rapid and I was like, okay, so I took her to her pediatrician. They referred us to an eye doctor just to make sure that it wasn't damaging her sight.
Right.
And at that appointment was the first time that I got worried because
Right.
they said that her vision was okay at the time, but they said, I think you need to see genetics. And I was like, why genetics over a bump on her eye?
Right.
So they referred me to genetics and a dermatologist. And this
Okay.
is at the children's hospital that she was born at. And it's 2 hours away from me. So these were a lot of trips that I had to make in the beginning to figure out what was going on. So
yeah, and you're recovering from C-section.
yeah, yeah. And
A lot.
I had to go back to work sooner than expected too, because I
Aw.
spent so much money traveling, so.
Yeah.
So we went to the dermatologist. I'm probably gonna read right from this paper now, because it's a
You go ahead, read. That's fine.
so, and I see there's some Alana's daycare teachers on here. Hi guys.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
And they were there for me, because she started daycare at 2 months old, so they helped a
Oh,
lot.
that's
And they were there the whole journey, so
well, that's awesome. You need people like that.
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a good support system. All right. So what the bump actually was is called a vascular tumor.
Oh my gosh.
So it happens in 5 to 10% of babies. Um, and then that's when she really like looked into her history. It's said to be related in BWS babies, not like the whole reason to do this is to tell everyone that not every baby's the same, because
Right.
I
I have never even heard of that before right now.
yeah. So there's vascular tumors, and then she also has like vascular marks. She has one on the side of her face and then like one on the back of her neck, which those are more common.
Right.
But I guess Lana's just lucky and got one of the vascular tumors. So
Oh.
they put her on beta blockers, which would stunt the growth of it, and they did,
Okay.
and they helped a lot. Excuse me. I had to run upstairs, and now my throat is dry because my drink is downstairs.
Go get it if you want.
So but to start those beta blockers, she had to be monitored for 36 hours in a hospital. Because I guess
Yeah.
they're also used for like high blood pressure, so it was like it could have like a reverse effect and all that.
And give her real. Yeah.
So her other symptoms, which at the time of birth they didn't really say much about. She has an umbilical hernia. Her umbilical cord was huge. Was
Yes.
huge. Like they took a picture of it and saved it. They were like
she was like a medical yeah.
and so would have been good for the cord blood, but so I thought that it was just because she had a huge umbilical cord that she got a hernia and
Yeah.
but apparently, come to find out, it's not. So what else? Okay. So I wrote a lot on here. I'm just trying to decipher it. So her actual symptoms that led up to the diagnosis She has mid-face oh my goodness, retrusion.
That's all right.
Oh boy. I can't pronounce it, but the creases under her eyes.
Okay.
Umbilical hernia. Macrosomia.
Yep.
Which I can't pronounce either. The other marks that I was talking about, they're actually called vascular lesions.
Okay.
And then the vascular tumor. And then the neonatal hypoglycemia, the pregnancy-related findings, and the tongue and lip ties. And she has a very slight difference in her left and right side. Her left foot is bigger than the right, but it's not too much. So, I mean, and then there was just other things that happened that were really hard throughout the time, but it's really just
Yeah. How old is she now?
She's 2.
So do you think the first year was probably the hardest?
Yes, definitely. From the time I found out until I think probably 6 months ago, it was like really hard. In the beginning, I didn't know anything about it. They gave me a piece of paper when I left the office, and I'm like, this is it. Like, so I Googled and I couldn't find much. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand. I didn't get it. So I Googled things and I would stay up all night just researching, reading case studies, trying to figure out what it really means.
Right.
And then I also logged on here that so when we first tested for BWS, her AFP level was 398.9. And now we are almost there at 292. It's almost in normal limits.
Right.
And that's based on an adult's limits because I guess they didn't do testing on babies. I don't really know. They don't know enough to explain to me to make me feel better about the situation.
I know, and it's so hard. And I think for me, what kind of fuels me to even do this is the whole first year. Owen's 14 months now, and I'm kind of just at the point where I feel okay. Well, not necessarily okay, but what's the word, like more I don't want to say level, but like stable, because the first year was a lot of ups and downs. And you know, I work in a hospital, and I don't think there's any doctor I work with that I say, like, once they knew what he had, they were like, oh, I never heard of it. And I'm like, how can I work in a hospital surrounded by brilliant physicians and they have no idea what I'm talking about? And I think what I want to get from all this, and having like you being brave enough to come and share your story, is I just learned from you. I had no idea half the things your daughter had could even be something associated with it. And I think that's why this is so huge, because all of our kids look so different. You know, so diagnosing them is so tricky, I feel like. How old was she when she was diagnosed?
She was 2 months old. So her first AFP test, and that's when we did the genetic testing, was June 20th of 2017. So she was 2 months old.
Yeah. And I mean, now, I mean, you know that so far she's been okay, but I remember Owen was diagnosed at 2 weeks old, and I was freaking out that I had to wait like a week for an appointment, you know, like with the cancer risk and all that. You're freaking out. You're super nervous all the time. And, you know, some people I've talked to, their kids aren't diagnosed until, you know, 14 months, 15 months. I mean, it's just scary.
And you think about the first year and how hard it is. And then, like, you kind of feel better about it, but then it's like every time the test comes, you just start freaking out again. It's like okay, I feel okay, like everything was good, and then it's like, oh no, it's almost time again. And like people that don't have kids with any sort of disabilities or anything, like even my boyfriend, which is not Lana's father, he doesn't like get it. He would be like, you got to stop researching, you got to stop looking it up, and I'm like, I can't, it makes me feel better. Like it just makes me feel better to, even if I find one new thing about it, it's
my
like,
husband's like,
yeah. it's
he knows because he
hard.
says that to me. Be
Yeah.
quiet.
It's hard
It is
because
hard.
it's always on your mind no matter what. And like they are the most strong-willed babies, I swear. Like,
oh my God.
like they just don't care. They're like, yep, I'm gonna do it anyways.
I'm gonna do it no matter what, and I don't care what you're gonna say. Oh my gosh. And I think, you know, I really do truly think that BWS babies are they're built for it because they're just built, even the ones that, you know, aren't necessarily large, because some people, I see some people that don't necessarily know what BWS is, which is awesome. You know, some BWS babies aren't big. You know, a lot of them are. Owen was 12, almost 12 pounds when he was born.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was huge. He was almost 12 pounds.
Well, they had told me that if I went full term with Lana, that she would have been about 15 pounds. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. I didn't go early with Owen. He was nice and cozy, and I was miserable. I was done. I was like, this baby needs to get out. And they kept telling me, oh, you know, he's like 10 pounds. And I was like, no, he's not. My other son was 8'13". I knew what a big baby was. I was like, this is not a 10-pound baby. And so I pushed for C-section. I advocated for him because I'm like, there's no way this baby is fitting where he's supposed to fit. It's just not going to happen. And right before they took him out, she was like, let's make a bet. I think he's going to be 10 pounds. And I said, he's going to be 12. And she like lifted him up, and my husband was like, oh my God, he looks like he's 4 months old.
I know, it's so crazy. So I went to, well, they were like alarmed, but they weren't really alarmed because, like I said, the diabetes. So I went to one of my ultrasounds, and it was like a scheduled routine one, like not high risk. And she was like, they said she was like she was 6 pounds. And then something had happened, like I started getting contractions, and they did another ultrasound 2 weeks later just to check to see, to make sure she was okay. And she was 8 pounds. In 2 weeks, she gained 2 pounds. I'm like, you gotta get this baby out of me. You gotta get her out.
You're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I know. I feel like that's what's you know, what's been the coolest thing since I started this, which you know, I didn't expect to amount to this. My husband was like, you know, I really think that you should just write. I think it'll help. So I did, and then this just has helped just connecting with people, because I don't you know, I don't have all the answers over here. Owen's a baby, so I'm learning, and you know, I learn better from other people's experiences. And one thing I have seen from people that don't have kids with you know, extenuating circumstances or anything, that was frustrating me for a while, was Owen looks pretty normal. And like, I don't want to say normal, but if I were to take him out now that his tongue is fixed, it's still large, but for the most part, I don't think people would look at him and think he has something going on. And I feel like people in the beginning didn't really understand where my frustration or like my anxiety would come from.
I feel that like, well, he's every day. I feel that every day. Because like, Lana looks normal. She looks completely normal. And when I tell people about it, they're like, what's that? And then I try and explain it, and I just can't form the words to like really, there's so many things to it. It's not just one thing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, their misconception is, you know, well, he's fine, he's running around, or, you know, she's doing good or whatever. And it's like, well, does BWS need to become like, is it not important until my kid gets cancer? Like,
Yeah.
is that what the message is? Because that's kind of what I feel, and it's kind of aggravating me.
Yeah. I feel
Because
that.
there's a slew of other issues that these kids deal with, and I'm sure there's kids that aren't diagnosed and then do get cancer because they don't have routine screenings.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this should become an awareness thing once our children get cancer.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And that's what I feel like the perception is, and it's aggravating to me. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, like the awareness, like I'm so glad that I delivered at that hospital. If I didn't have complications in my pregnancy, I wouldn't have delivered there, and I probably
Right.
wouldn't have gotten referred there and had that team, that group that saw my baby be born and knows that she had the beginning symptoms but didn't know until we went through
Right.
the genetics. Like, people are like, "Oh, well, is that hard for you?" I'm like, it's hard, but I'm glad that I know, because I can get those routine screenings.
Right. You get the routine screenings, and like, you have someone finally validating you as a mother that, I've talked to people that are like, they keep brushing me under the rug. Should I push it? Should I push it? I said, yes, you should push it. Like,
you are
you
the
should
biggest advocate for your kid as a mother. And if you feel something's not right, you push it.
You push it. You don't care who you're pissing off. Like, my husband's laughing at me. He's like, she's crazy. But I mean, we're very fortunate. We live very close to Children's Hospital Philadelphia, and there are people come all over the world to come see their team over there. So we're extremely fortunate, but not a lot of people have this similar situations that you had or I had. A lot of times it takes them Googling to be like, wait a minute, he's got this, he's got that. And I do think that if Owen wasn't born with such a large tongue, and he might have just been born big and be born with his hemihypertrophy, he probably would be pushed aside for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, like, Lana doesn't have many physical symptoms. So, like, I feel really lucky that it's crazy to say that I feel lucky that she did have some physical symptoms, because if she didn't, it would have been brushed under the rug as, oh, you were a diabetic mother that carried a baby to term. Like, so it's a weird thing to say, but I am thankful for that.
Yeah. And the diabetic thing, they kept asking me that with Owen, and I was like, no, I'm not. I haven't even been borderline. Like, and I do think that if for whatever reason I was getting, hey, Shannon, I did mean to invite you, but there were some major technical difficulties on my end over here. But Owen, his belly was measuring huge, so they thought gestational diabetes, but I kept testing fine. And then his tongue was huge. I remember being like, she was like, oh, he's sticking his tongue out. And I'm like, that's like the whole screen. Like, what? And I still have his ultrasounds. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I do think if like a CHOP doctor maybe saw them, then maybe, but like same thing. They're like, oh, he's either just a big baby or, maybe you're borderline gestational diabetes or whatever. But that wasn't the case with him. And I really want people to come and do this every week, because
I'm
it's
excited
huge.
to see, like I was telling you, like people who have had it and that now they're teenagers or adults. Like I'm excited to see those ones, especially just because I always wonder, like it's always a wonder, like I just wonder what she's gonna be like. Like, she's so awesome now, and I'm like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna do so many great things because you're so strong-willed.
I know. I always say, like, I just look at Owen and I'm like, that kid is gonna move mountains. Like, he is so, and it, like, part of me, you got to keep your kid in line so they don't rule the house. But part of me is like, man, I don't want to break his spirit.
Yeah,
so
Lana kind of rules the house, and I try and like, I'm just like, oh, you're so cute. I can't. You just do it.
I know, and they know it. And that's the other thing. Talking to all these different families that has been so cool for me, is like, there's so many different characteristics. And this is what like really just makes me smile. There's so many different characteristics of BWS babies, like so many that you know, we don't even know them all until we talk to each other. Did either of you know about BWS before? Shannon, no, neither of us did.
Nope.
I had no idea it even existed. Nope.
Nope.
So I think that's why this is such a big deal.
Yeah, there was nope, not one clue.
Nothing. I was like, what in the world is that? But, you know, of all the different characteristics that all of these kids have, the two things that they all do have that everybody says is they're strong-willed and they smile all the time.
Yeah, Lana is always smiling.
Always smiling. And I'm like, man, these kids go through the craziest things. They're stuck every 3 months. For those of you that are on here that don't really know what it is, you know, they get, when they're diagnosed, they get routine cancer screenings every 3 months. They get blood draws every 3 months. You know, and I don't know how she does with them. Owen hates them. And
Lana's are actually, her
beats people.
her blood draws are every 6 weeks.
Okay, hers are more frequent.
And then her ultrasound is every 3 months. And this last round that we did, she didn't cry at either one of them. And I told her how proud of her I was. She got a lollipop from the doctor. She was great. So that's
awesome.
I think because she's now 2, so she's been doing it for a while. So I think she's now like, all right, we go in. I get a sticker. Right. This time I got a lollipop. This is great.
What am I going to get? She's going to get older and she's going to be like, wait. What can I milk this for? Like,
she really will too.
She's going to be like,
if I do this,
I could get,
what can I get?
Yeah. Yeah, Owen is a total bear. Oh my God. I'm like, and I think people, another reason why I really want people, even just healthcare providers, to be educated about this is because, you know, I understand that people give their children sometimes too much credit than what they deserve. But I mean, really, when we say our kids are strong, it's a whole different level of strength. And Owen was emergently hospitalized in January for pneumonia. And I told them, I said, he already ripped his IV out once. He hasn't had any food for 8 hours. This is not, my husband and I and yourself is not going to be enough people to try and get another IV in this kid. And they're looking at me like, you're crazy. I'm like, I'm telling you, you better watch your face because it took him sitting on my lap with my legs wrapped around his legs, my husband holding his one arm, and 2 nurses holding his other arm to get an IV in this kid. And he, at the time, was not even 1 year old. He was 11 months.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, I don't know why they don't believe me.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that I wanted to bring up, just to be more aware, because I don't know if it's like not a finding yet or not, but like I had said to you, the wheezing and the breathing issues always being stuffy, like I've been battling it forever. Like
it is so frustrating.
And like no one can give me answers. And I'm like, what is
so actually that's been our latest thing with Owen. He started that in like June. And I was like, okay, I understand he has a 4-year-old older brother, he gets germs, whatever. I get all that, but it is June and this kid has been, you know, consistently does Owen eat all the time? Oh my God. Yes, my husband and I joke that we're gonna have to put a lock on the fridge. He's out of control.
Yeah.
Like we used to feed him when he was an infant and I would hear the milk going in his belly. Yeah. I'm like, how is it empty? I just fed you.
Yeah, Lana, once she learned how to eat, I don't think she's ever stopped. Like, I go pick her up from daycare. As soon as we walk in the door, snack. I'm like, really?
I'm just getting a charger. It's crazy because with the breathing thing, I remember constantly going to the doctors and I'm like, this is not normal. Like my son should not be this congested to the point. And, you know, he still has a significantly large tongue to the point where it'll probably need to be reduced again, which, oh my God, I'm going to need a support group. Everyone there for me because that was a really hard time. Mike, can you help me plug this in? But anyway, I can't reach down there because of my back. He was having such a hard time breathing, and I just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And now we're at the point where we took him to an ENT, and they were like, he is really congested. I'm like, I know he is. And he might have to get tubes in his ears because, however, he's seeing a follow-up. He has a appointment coming up. He messed up my flow. Here. So he is gonna probably have to have tubes in his ears because all that like congestion, because he's not able to clear it because of his tongue. All of that congestion is backing up in his ears.
See,
and then he's really sick. No, you're fine.
I see someone said remove the adenoids. So Lana did get tubes in her ears and she got her adenoids removed.
So interesting.
Because like I said, I've gone to every length to try and help her with her breathing. She doesn't have the enlarged tongue, so like I just felt so defeated. So at one point they thought that she might have had one of the hemangiomas in her throat.
Oh wow.
So we had done a scope for that, and she didn't like that, I'll tell you that much. She hated that.
Yeah.
But so we did that and they didn't find one, thank God. But I still got no answers. So they did do the tubes.
Did they help at all, the tubes?
They did. She still has congestion from time to time, but it's not constant. Like it was.
So what I found that sorry, go ahead.
We got hospitalized 3 times because in the middle of the night she was turning blue, and I'm like, I gotta go. And they still gave me no answers.
I know, it's so terrifying. And you know, that's kind of what happened with Owen, to the point where like his congestion was backing up so bad in his face and he couldn't clear anything that it turned into pneumonia. And thank God I had gotten called into work at like, I don't even remember, I think it was like 12 a.m. I went to work and he was supposed to go to CHOP that next morning. We were supposed to leave at like 6 a.m. I was on my way home from work. It was like 4:30 in the morning, and I was like, you know what, I might as well just stay awake. I'll pick up a coffee. So I'm sitting in my living room. My husband's asleep. Everyone in the house is asleep. And my dog was acting super weird and like trying to get my attention. And then I could hear Owen coughing in the crib. And I'm like, he doesn't sound that good. But then I'm like, well, he always kind of sounds like that. So I'm listening. And then he was coughing so bad, he woke my husband up. And then my husband and I both went into his room, and he was coughing so hard, he like threw up everywhere. So I'm like, okay. So I'm sleep deprived. I throw him in the tub, and he never complains. Like, I don't know how your daughter is, but the only time he ever complains is when it's really bad. So we put him in the tub, and he almost fell face first in the tub. Like, he wouldn't sit up. And I was like, I need to go. I'm like, I need to take him to the hospital. We need to go. And he was hospitalized for 2 days. And I'm like, this can't happen. Like, because of congestion. Like, it's just not okay for these kids. And I think, honestly, there's just not a ton of research. And they just it's not a recognized symptom yet.
I'm seeing a lot of people commenting, and I'm very excited to read all these because it's saying something about something being common. And I don't think that we've explored that option yet, so that's very helpful.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't wait to go back and read all these. What I have found for you and for everyone that's listening that has worked for Owen are essential oils, which I never was really one to think that any of that kind of stuff worked, honestly. And then one of my friends from work was like, look, she has a daughter with epilepsy. She's like, why don't you just try it? I have a respiratory one. And I swear that did him wonders. I would put it on his chest.
I need to order that.
Oh my God, they were amazing. And then I just put it every time I feel he's getting like stuffy, I have a little diffuser that I put them in. So that seems to help. I mean, he's still congested, and we'll see, but
like I said, the tubes and removing the adenoids did help Lana. It's not constant anymore. It's just every once in a while. But
good.
Another thing is, like, when this happens, like when she has the trouble breathing, the doctors just look at you like you're crazy, like you haven't tried to do everything to relieve the problem. And they're like, "Did you try a bulb suction?" I'm like, "Yep." They're like, "Saline?" I'm like, "Yep, I've done everything. Can you please help me?" Like
Nebulizer?
that's
Yep.
yeah. It's really defeating when the doctors look at you like you're not trying everything for your kid. I'm like, "Please don't, because they're gonna disturb the bear and you don't want to do that."
I know exactly, and kind of like you don't want to get to that point where you're like, okay, let's rewind and let's go back to where you needed to look this syndrome up on Google to figure out how to treat my kid. Like, you don't
Yeah.
want to get nasty
Yeah.
like that. At the same time, like, don't look at me like I don't know what's happening. Like, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what happened with Owen when we took him emergently to the hospital. I brought him in and I was like, I knew, I'm like, he's in respiratory distress. So I brought him in and I was like, he's in respiratory distress. Like somebody, like someone help him. And they're like, okay, let's take your information. I'm like, no, put him on a pulse ox right now. Like they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
But they did. They put him on pulse ox and he was in the 70s. And I'm like, that's not okay for him. Look at him. Like, and he was belly breathing and labor breathing. And, you know,
Yep.
it was just scary. And I just think the more that all of us come together and share our stories like this, knock it off. My husband's such a pain. I think that, you know, people that share the similarities and differences that happen with their kids, then we can all figure out, okay, is it BWS related or is it not?
Yeah.
And it helps us learn how to deal with some of the things that they're going through.
Yeah, and I can count on like two hands how many doctors have been like, "What's that?" When I tell them that she has it. I'm like, "Excuse me, and I'm coming to see you. Why?"
No, I know. And that's disheartening too, because it's like if I wanted to bring her, if I wanted Google to figure out how to treat my daughter, I wouldn't have paid a copay to come and see you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would just sit at my computer and do it myself. And it's frustrating. It's like, what in the world? I don't understand. And the more that I like look into, like I'll look into when kind of bigger diseases or bigger syndromes and stuff like that have like kind of can't come into play. You know, they've been around for a really long time. So I think,
Mhm.
you know, our kids are just the first of many. That's kind of how I've been looking at it. Um, you know, a disease and syndrome starts somewhere. And I think that that's where it's starting, is how I feel, at least. Our kids are
Mhm.
the first.
Yeah, like I said, it's unbelievable how many doctors or people that you come across that don't even know what it is. And I'm like, honestly, Google it because I can't sit here and explain to you all the different symptoms. And I'm like, basically, she's at a higher risk for cancer. We do a lot of screenings. And if you want to know more, please Google it because it's a lot. But
It's a lot, yeah.
I want people to be more aware than that. Like, I just want,
Yeah.
you know, so that's why I did this
Yeah.
because I don't like
Well,
being
you're
on camera.
you did great, and I'm so thankful that you know, were our sacrificial offering. I'm like, oh my God, it's taken me 6 lives in order to get this figured out and get her on here. What the heck?
But we did it. And hopefully they
We
don't do
did
an
it.
update before the next one.
Oh my God, I'm gonna check. Check. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I'm so thankful. I think, you know, you sharing your story about your daughter is awesome, and you helped me learn, you know, definitely more than 5 things probably. I didn't even know
Yeah,
the
there's
tumors
a
on the
lot.
eye. Yeah. So that's awesome, and I'm just very thankful that you
Yeah,
were
thank you
willing
for
to come
having
here.
me.
Of
Spread
course.
all the
So
awareness.
yeah, we're gonna spread it all together and, you know, knock over anyone in our way.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.